Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining. It's 6:30, and I'll call the meeting to order. Mauricio, roll call, please.
Yes. Commissioner Lama,
Here.
Commissioner Viscara,
Here.
Vice Mayor Joseph,
Here.
Commissioner Suvasan is absent, Mayor Svechin.
Here.
We have a quorum, ma'am.
Great, thank you. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Toby, would you do the honors? So we have the approval of the minutes.
So moved. Second.
Great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
For March 6th, I need a motion.
So moved.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, before we start, I just wanted to make a very short statement. Again, thank you everyone for coming. We have more people here than usual because we're going to be appointing committees, so it's always great to have more people. And it's an opportunity to address you, but also the people that are listening perhaps on, streaming online or on TV. So recently, we had an incident in the city where some of our ideas or laws or ideologies were potentially challenged. And I want to say for the record that this body, but and I think you all agree, are not only supporters of First Amendment rights, we must by law uphold them. We take an oath and we take that very, very seriously. So with that said, before we play the opening remarks, I want to remind you all that this is a place where your First Amendment rights will be respected within the rules of this chamber. So please remember that when you speak, you have 3 minutes. I'll let you finish a statement if you're going over a little bit. Before speaking, please make sure that you put in a speaking card, which are in the back. If you're not certain whether you want to speak or not, go ahead and fill it out, and then you can just, waive your right to speak. And then when you do address the commission, you are to address all your comments to the chair, which is me. We are not debating with anyone. This is not a back and forth conversation. If you want a question answered, you can fill out a card that is neither for or against, but for information. So we would be happy to answer those questions as well, but be cognizant of the fact that you have 3 minutes. So with that said, if you want to play the opening remarks, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you for being here tonight. Please turn off or mute any electronic devices to avoid interrupting these proceedings. In all issues that come before the City Commission, we ask that everyone show mutual respect for one another by listening quietly to each person speaking, and that everyone refrain from any clapping, heckling, or verbal outbursts in favor or in opposition to a speaker. Individuals that do not adhere to Chapter 74, Rules of Procedure of the Code, particularly Section 74-21, decorum, shall be barred from further appearance before the Commission. Individuals who want to speak on any item on the agenda are asked to fill out a public speaker's card and give it to the City Clerk before the item is called. Speakers are asked to speak to the issues, make comments concise and to the point, and refrain from making duplicate comments. All speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. If you speak out of turn without permission from the chair and or do not cease speaking after one warning, you will be escorted out of the chambers.
Thank you. And I failed to introduce a new person on the dais. This is a new attorney for the firm that we use for our law services. You could just introduce yourself and just tell the audience a little bit about yourself so they know your credentials.
Good evening. My name is Alan Boileau. I am assisting Ms. Vicente with regards to the legal services provided to the city. I've been practicing over 20 years and most recently was a city attorney for the city of Fort Lauderdale.
Thank you. Okay. Mauricio, we have some changes.
Yes, ma'am. So we are adding 2 items to the agenda, 5C and 5D. They're both proclamations. One is for the checkers, International Checkers in October, and then 5D is the Education and Sharing Day. Education and Sharing. Education and Sharing Day.
Shame, S-H-A-M.
Sharing. And then we're deferring item 10E, which is a resolution regarding the feasibility study. And we are requesting to hear out of order item 9A and 10P to be heard before 5A.
Okay. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Great. All in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye. Okay. Go ahead,
Thank
Mauricio.
you. Okay, so 9A is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, amending the city charter by amending section C 2.2B, Vice Mayor, by amending section C 2.3C, limitations on length of service, by amending section C 2.4, qualifications, by amending section C 2.5C, filling of vacancies, by amending section by amending section C 2.6, compensation reimbursement for expenses, by amending section C 3.1, city manager, by amending section C 3.5, city clerk, by amending section C 3.6, city attorney, by amending section C 4.2, prohibitions, by amending section C 5.1I, commencement of terms, by amending section C 5.3, form of ballots, by amending section C 7.4, charter revision, providing authorization to the city attorney and city clerk to amend the charter, providing for the form of the ballot, providing for balloting and election procedures, providing for notice of special election, providing for copies of the proposed charter amendments to be available for public inspection, providing for effectiveness, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the charter, providing for an effective date. And this is second and final reading. And 10P is a resolution calling for a special election on the proposed charter amendments to be held on May 23rd, 2023. So, Mayor and members of the commission, we had the first reading of this ordinance back on March the 6th. It's basically the proposals as they were recommended by the charter revision, which met a total of about 6 times between the months of January and February. So that's the ordinance. And the resolution is very self-explanatory. It's calling for a special election for the referendum on those charter amendments.
Okay, thank you. And just to clarify for those that were not here at that meeting or have additional questions, this is the work of the Charter Review Commission, who some of the members are here. I want to again acknowledge them and thank them for all the work that they did. This is not, we are not voting on the items that they have decided to place on the ballot. We're just voting to the second reading of accepting those items, and then the resolution is for the date of the actual election. And can you tell us the date again, please? It's May
May 23rd.
23rd. Okay. So unless there's any discussion from the commission, I'll take a motion.
You need public comment.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Again, the election is on the 23rd, and that's where you choose what passes and what doesn't. So you can vote yes, you can vote no, and it'll be 14 items that will change potentially, if you vote yes, then it'll make the changes to our charter, which is basically the city's constitution. So, and I also wanted to thank the group who worked so hard, giving up their Friday nights, and you were extraordinarily thorough, and it was a pleasure working with you.
And once again, thank you, Commissioner Viscar, for chairing that. Any public comment?
Yes, we do. We have one, Angel Vanegas.
Is Angel here? Okay. Angel, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Angel Venegas. I reside at 301 174th Street. I've been living here approximately 3 years. I'll tell you a quick story. My first time I walked on Collins Street, I loved it. Beautiful city. I think you guys do a great job. I looked at these ordinance and I said, wow, this is a great opportunity for like to make my opinion, express my opinions and on some ordinance, because when I looked at some ordinance, the worst thing I could see, you have a system in which you amend them and you resign them. But the worst thing that you could have is an ordinance that you don't enforce, okay? And I looked at article, in chapter 256, article 6, restrictions of skateboards, non-motorized and motorized vehicles. You go through this beautiful definition of defining scooters, caseboards, intakes, and all this thing, and you left out bikes. And I go, wow, I need a sanity check. Because you
Wait,
covered everything.
I don't want to cut you off, but is this part of what they were, which item is it that they put on the?
So, Mr. Venegas, you put here that you wanted to speak on the ordinance.
Ordinance, that's what I'm speaking on. So I'm talking
9A
about,
is the ordinance, the charter amendments.
the ordinance that I'm speaking of is 256-40.
No, sir, this is, what we're voting on right now is something separate. So what you signed up to speak, I think you want to speak about something else.
I just wanted to express my opinion on ordinance, but I
and you're-
guess this is not the place?
No, you're welcome to stay there. At the end of the meeting, there is a portion for citizens' participation, and she'll be able to make the comment at that time.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought
we'll
that's what I was going to do. And I
Yeah.
was wondering why I got
No,
picked.
thank you for coming, and I appreciate that. I just want to make
Okay,
sure that
so
we
at the
stick
end of the
to
meeting,
the
I will-
process.
I will-
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, so just stick around, please.
There's
All
no
right, so-
other public
so Yeah,
comment.
so again, we're voting on the second reading of the charter revisions that the commission, that the Charter Review Commission has made to put on the ballot, and then the date for the election, both of which we don't have control over, but we have to vote on them. So I'll take a motion,
So moved.
And I'll second.
okay? And this is both, right?
This is for both, and I'll request a roll call.
Okay.
We could. So Commissioner Lama,
Yes.
Commissioner Viscara,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joseph,
Yes.
Mayor Svechen.
Yes.
The ordinance and resolution pass 4-0.
Okay, great, thank you. And then, so we're going to move on to 5A.
Yes, but before we do, Mayor, we have some recognition for the CRC.
Right, that's what I mean.
And
that's-
before that, we also forgot the invocation. So, would you like to do
Yes.
that first?
Yes, please, Rabbi Baron.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's great to see you. And of course, a prayer is always important before we start. Dear God, Master of the universe, we stand humbled before you this evening as we recognize all of your blessings that you have bestowed upon us collectively as a community and individually as private citizens. We recognize the blessings of living in a democratic country, and we do not take this for granted. We're mindful of the fact that you have blessed this city with wonderful leadership, direction, dedication, and a guiding spirit, which has resulted in the many successful achievements over the last 25 years here in Sunny Isles Beach, and we praise you for this. We recognize that we are gathered before you this evening in pursuit of fulfilling your wishes, as you, dear God, empowered humanity with 7 basic universal laws after the great flood of Noah. These laws were once again reaffirmed by Moses at Mount Sinai to be taught to all of humanity, universal laws that provide a framework of law and order and justice which will allow humanity to settle the earth in a civilized manner. We recognize that we have been entrusted by the citizens of Sunny Isles Beach to perform this sacred duty. We recognize that our decisions will have a lasting impact far into the future, and so therefore, Almighty God, please provide us with the consciousness to constantly be aware of your presence, so that we are consistent to our mandate. Please grant us the wisdom, intuition, and sensitivity to succeed, so that we leave a legacy of having a positive impact upon society for many generations to come. Please guide our police department and city staff to make the right decisions with honesty, integrity, and knowledge for all of our citizens into the future. May they continue to serve as positive role models for our beautiful community. Almighty God, in these times, we do not take our safety and security for granted. Protect our police force, our servicemen and women serving domestically and overseas in the name of freedom and democracy. Please give them the peace of mind, insight, and intuition to be successful. May everyone gathered here tonight and all the residents of Sunny Isles Beach be granted with good health, peace of mind, and prosperity, and let us say amen.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend.
Okay, so now if we can just invite the CRC, and I'll call them up by name individually so we can have a brief recognition. We have a plaque for you all, just as a token of our appreciation. The chair, which is Robert Thatcher, and we have board members Yvette Francola, Jody Joseph, and Henry Strong present. And Silvana Zerulinkoff was unable to attend today. So if I can have the board come up and the commission go down for a picture. Robert. Mayor and Commissioners, can you just stay there because the next one will require a photo op as well. So the next item is 5B. It's a plaque presentation for Keith Oliver.
Thank you. So, I'll go that one. That's a little bit less helpful. So, Keith, this is a very, very small token of appreciation from us. For those of you that don't know, Keith and his wife, please come up as well, have been incredible and instrumental in not just facilitating, but nurturing, building, really everything that is associated with the butterfly garden that we have in Gateway Park. If you have not been there, it's towards the end behind the stage. It's almost like a little secret garden. It's beautiful, and the two of them, but obviously, especially Keith, have put in their heart and their soul into it, and they continue to look after it. And so we want to acknowledge you and all the both of you have done to make our city more beautiful and to really bring something very, very special for everyone, but especially I think for children. So thank you very much.
I just had a word to say.
Go ahead.
Mayor, thank you.
Hello? Yes, Keith Oliver, 15645 Collins Avenue, Sunny Isles Beach, and Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission, and staff. I want to thank you for recognizing the Butterfly Garden. The garden is a peaceful paradise, really. It's a hidden gem in our city. It's becoming more well-known now, but it has been a hidden gem. And it's very special where you can see young Spanish-speaking kids with their parents jump up and say, "Mariposa, mariposa." And I see Ukrainian kids come in and jump and shout and say, "Babushka, babushka." Unless it's grandma, babashka.
That's
It's similar, I'm
close
sorry.
enough.
I hear them yell it, and they know it's a butterfly. And the English-speaking kids yell, "Butterfly, butterfly," as they cheer, and they're so excited, and it's just been a pleasure to watch them. And the garden, if you haven't seen it or haven't been there lately, it's, the city has done a great job replenishing the plants and trees and flowers. And right now, you can go down, this is the best time of the year, entering the high season for the butterfly, and you will see hundreds of plants and thousands of flowers, as well as many dozens of butterflies every day. Every day you'll see them. And it's just, the park is it's an added, a nice addition to our great city. So, you know, I like to thank the commission and the directors and managers for all their support, as well as the support since Mayor Edelcup and Norman Edelcup and Lou Taylor, because we had unanimous support since their administration. So in the future, I'd look forward to creating a trust to fund the replenishment of the butterfly garden and well, trees and flowers, and it would be a trust that should last about 25 years to replenish the garden. And so I want to thank you all for that. And last but not least, I'd like to thank my wife, my beautiful wife, and because she has been the inspiration and encouraging me to create this garden along with your support. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, good night.
Mayor, I just wanted to add that we have a bench dedication program, and Jerry Joseph and family have offered to sponsor a plaque for one of our benches at the Butterfly Garden.
Thank you. That's amazing. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Okay. Mauricio?
Okay, the next item on the agenda is item 5C, which is a proclamation that was issued, or is being issued for International Checkers Week in the city of Sunny Isles Beach, and this is to take place in October, and that was at the request of Vice Mayor Joseph. And then item 5D is a proclamation issued for Education and Sharing Day, which was issued at the request of Mayor Svechin. And I believe Rabbi Barron here is here to accept it. Do you want to present it?
Yeah.
What is this for?
Let's get some of that.
Okay, Mauricio?
Okay, the next item on the agenda is 7A, where in ordinances for first reading. And it's an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, amending ordinance number 2022-595, approving budget amendment number BA 2223-02 to the city's operating capital improvement budget for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. The General Fund, Street Maintenance and Construction Fund, Special Revenue Fund, Capital Projects Fund, and Stormwater Operations Fund, authorizing the city manager to do all things necessary to implement the terms and conditions of this ordinance, providing for an effective date, and this is first reading.
Honorable Mayor and Commission, this budget amendment is necessary for the following reasons. The first is fund balance carryovers per our audit, which is just about done. So it's to adjust the amounts that were previously budgeted to what they're actually going to be for the beginning fund balances per the audit. The other is purchase order carryovers from last fiscal year to this fiscal year. And then we also have routine transfers between existing budget accounts for actual expenditures, and each of those are occurring in all of the funds. In addition, in the general fund, we did some increases to revenues that have been higher than what we expected. In addition, there's a transfer from the general fund back to the ARPA fund. We discovered during our audit that from an accounting standpoint, any eligible expenditure should be reflected in the ARPA fund and not done as a transfer in or out from that fund. So that is to correct that. There's also in the general fund a retroactive salary increase for the commission. We discovered that the charter has that an annual increase should occur based upon CPI. And so for certain years that did not occur. Other years it was COLA based at 3%. So we did a calculation, and so that is in there as well as an increase. We did a transfer of funds from our HR department for the police PBA salary increases, so those were budgeted in HR, which is pretty much customary. And then once that PBA contract was negotiated and signed, then we moved those funds over to the police department. And then also we had transfers out from general fund to capital projects. This was actually to increase appropriations for two projects. One is the Atlantic Isles Bridge rehabilitation. We've actually signed an agreement with FDOT, and this amount represents 25% of that. And then the Golden Shores pump station project, which is an increase of about $1 million. Let's see, so in our street maintenance and construction fund, we are actually purchasing a bus and a van, in addition to just dealing with the whole supply chain issues. A lot of the manufacturers are increasing prices after the fact. So there's a price increase for a bus that we already had on order, and then some other equipment and graphics for those vehicles. And then we have in the capital projects fund and the stormwater capital fund, we have capital project carryovers, which are standard.
Okay, so I just have some general questions in order to get clarification, not for myself, but for the public. So can you
Yes.
just briefly explain what ARPA is so people understand?
The American Rescue Plan Act was enacted in 2021 by President Biden, and that was to provide funding to local governments to help them from the impact from the COVID-19 impact.
And we received,
And we received $10.9 million.
right. And when you say you were moving the money around, that money is not necessarily, it was always there, it was just in a different fund.
Correct.
So the
So
large
that-
numbers that we see, it's not something that you've all of a sudden added.
No, that's not an ad. That's just moving from general fund back over to the ARPA fund.
Okay.
And also capital projects fund, because we also have a stormwater project that is eligible for those expenditures.
Okay. And before I get to the question about the increases for the commission, were any other salaries affected by these changes besides the police, which was already a negotiated contract?
No.
Okay. If you can please briefly, unless the commission has more questions, explain the years we're talking about for the increases, for the total increase, and basically what that really means for everyone else, what CPI means, what COLA means, as briefly as possible.
Sure.
Thank you.
So CPI is the Consumer Price Index, and that's determined by the Department of Labor. COLA is the cost of living adjustment, and that's just determined by, the administration and the commission as to what that will be. Historically, it's been about 3%. What was discovered that there was a provision in the charter, original charter, related to that the commission would receive CPI and not COLA. In that ordinance, first reading was under COLA, and then a minor adjustment was made by the city attorney at that time to then say that needs to be changed to CPI. I don't have any information as to what occurred back then, but it appeared that the commission was actually getting COLA the entire period of time up to 2016. At that time, whatever decisions were made, it stopped. So the commission did not receive anything from 2016 until now.
Okay. Do we have questions from the commission? No? Do we have a public speakers?
We do. Norman Edelcup.
Okay. Don't go far, Tiffany. And I just want to acknowledge our former Mayor Edelcup. I neglected to do that. Thank you for being here, and thank you for bringing the institutional knowledge that you have. And, but still, for the record, your name and address.
Norman Edelcup, 244 Atlantic Isle, Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, former mayor. It's interesting how this whole budgetary process has evolved over the years. When we first started putting budgets together in the city, the budget was a sacrosanct document that was made once a year, and it allowed maybe for changes if there was a carryover, but it certainly was never the intent of the former commissions that there would be constant revisions of the budget throughout each of and every one of the years because something came up during the year that somebody thought needed to be either increased or decreased for an expense or a revenue item. The budget was set in September. It was approved by each of the commissions even after me. The budget was tied to the millage rate, and the city was off on its way assuming that the millage rate would be collected, and the budget that had been approved and had been open to public disclosure for months prior to the actual passing of the budget would hold. But unfortunately, and at least in my opinion, there has been a change in policy over the years, and now it seems that the budget is no longer a sacrosanct document, but just a piece of paper that can be changed at the whim of whatever new item should come across somebody's mind that they feel justifies changing the dollar amount, instead of waiting until perhaps the ensuing year and carrying whatever those items are in the next year's budget. If you're going to have these constant changes, then I think it's only fair to the public that the public be invited to workshops where each of these items can be explained and decided and debated as to whether or not they should take place or not. Unfortunately, generally when these are presented to the commission, it's a rubber stamp. The commission basically approves it, and that's the end of it. And there really hasn't been any in-depth study by the commissioners or the public as to what these changes were. Like I said, if it's a carryover of a prior year's item, I have no problem with that. But new items, like the Atlantic Isle Bridge, which is a new item, it isn't going to be built this year. It could have waited until the budgetary process was done for the coming year. That budgetary process is going to start in a month or two. There are many other items like the $80,000 now that are retroactive pay increase, which, we as former commissioners and mayor didn't ever want to have an increase in our pay to be any greater than the COLA increases that our employees were getting. And if there was going to be a change in that policy, or if someone has discovered well after the fact, because these attorneys and you have all been here for many years and nobody's discovered this fact now, but all of a sudden we're talking about pay increases for the prior commissioners, including myself. I don't want a pay increase. If the charter is wrong, it can be changed by an ordinance by this commission to reflect what was originally the intent, but not to increase additional expenditures. My time is up. I made my pitch, and I hope you'd listen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. City Attorney, can you please clarify what happened and what the obligation we have as far as that one line item for the increase going back from 2007?
I can't speak to historically why only COLAs were provided.
No, I mean what we have to do now and whether we have, and what our options are.
According to the charter language, it is unambiguous. It is not permissive. It says they shall be increased in accordance with CPI. So under the charter provisions, that was required.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? No?
No.
Okay. I'll take a motion.
So moved. I'll second.
This is a roll call? Yes. Okay.
Vice Mayor Joseph,
Yes.
Commissioner Lama,
Yes.
Commissioner Viscara,
Yes.
Mayor Svechen.
Yes.
The ordinance passes on first reading. Second reading is scheduled for April.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And when does our budgetary process start?
About the end of April, third week in April.
End of April, okay.
Yeah.
So.
It's the kickoff.
I just want to let everyone know that I think that, I probably speak for the commission when I say that we take these things very seriously. In fact, the former mayor and I have had many conversations, and he's going to be heading up a fact-finding committee for me in order to provide any sort of information that he thinks would be valuable for this commission. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate you coming to every single meeting and keeping us honest. Thank you.
7B is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 217 of the City of Sunny Isles Beach Code of Ordinances titled Rental Property and Chapter 231 titled Solid Waste to restrict the times trash and recycling receptacles can be placed out, amending Sections 231-33 to revise the penalties for violations of Chapter 231, providing for repealer, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date. And this is first reading.
Thank you. City Manager?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the commission, this is an ordinance related to trash and recycling receptacles and the times that they may be placed out for collection. The ordinance allows the receptacles to be placed out by 5 p.m. the day preceding, and they must be removed by midnight the day of the collection. The ordinance also provides for penalties.
Great. Thank you. Are there any questions or discussion in the commission?
I'd just like to say that I've put notice out on any Facebook group that I have contact with to alert residents to watch out for when their pails are out and to bring them in immediately. I watch out for my neighbors. If I see one out after pickup, I always bring it in for them. And I would ask other neighbors to be neighborly and do the same for their neighbors so that no one gets fined.
Great. Thank you. And just for clarification, this is for just the two neighborhoods that have the single-family homes, Atlantic Isle and Golden Shores.
Right.
And each of those homes will get an actual personal notice letting them know about this change, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And how long do they have? What sort of window do they have to sort of when does this take effect?
would take effect upon second reading of the ordinance.
And when will they get the notice?
We will begin noticing shortly thereafter.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that'll take motion.
Mayor, for the record, there's no public comments.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Motion,
So moved.
second?
Yes, I'll second.
Commissioner Lama,
Yes.
Commissioner Viscara,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joseph,
Yes.
Mayor Svechen.
Yes,
The ordinance passes on first reading. Second reading is scheduled for April.
great, thank you. Next item?
7C is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, repealing Article Number 2 of Chapter 172, titled Charitable Donations of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sunny Isles Beach, providing for repealer, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date. First reading.
If I may, Mayor?
Yes, please, sorry.
During the charter revision process, it came to light that there was a charter provision in conflict with the code, specifically with respect to charitable contributions. Under the charter, section C-7.6, charitable contributions can only be made if approved by the affirmative votes of 4 commissioners. However, our code allowed the manager to provide charitable contributions, both monetary and also in kind, up to certain thresholds. So that's in conflict, and so we have proposed repealing the ordinance that's in conflict.
Great. Thank you. Any questions from the commission?
Just a comment that this is not this is not going to be one of the things that goes to vote in May, but it's one of the many things that were discussed by the CRC, and again, I just wanted to say good job.
Okay, do we have any public speakers?
No,
Okay. Go ahead.
that's it. Oh, just the motion then.
Oh, I need a motion, sorry.
So moved.
Second?
Yes, second.
Okay. Commissioner Viscara,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joseph,
Yes.
Commissioner Lama,
Yes.
Mayor Svechen.
Yes.
The ordinance passes on first reading. Second reading is scheduled for April.
Okay. Now, interrupt the order because we have a commissioner from Aventura here. Do we have, he's right there.
Yes, we do.
So we had,
Colorectal, right?
huh?
Colorectal?
Yes, please. So if you want to just explain.
Yes, so this proclamation was actually issued in February at the request of Commissioner Lama, and it's for Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month for March 2023.
And so we appreciate you coming. I know you couldn't come before, and we had said that whenever you come, we would be able to sort of take the picture and present you with a proclamation. So if you want to come up, please, if no one here minds.
No.
Okay. No, we'll go down there. Yeah, we'll go down there. And then come up to the.
Mayor.
So first of all, thank you very much for stopping your meeting and doing that. You didn't have to do that, but I appreciate it very much. Really quickly, I'm a city commissioner for our neighboring city, Aventura, and I have stage 4 colon cancer. And I'm just asking cities to recognize that this is it's a horrible disease, and colonoscopies can prevent colon cancer. And colon cancer will be the deadliest cancer in the next 15, 20 years. It's the least funded. I just came back from Washington to ask for more federal funding. By the year 2030, There will be 27,000 people under the age of 50 that will be diagnosed with colon cancer. It will be the deadliest cancer by that year. Breast cancer gets the most funding, colon cancer gets the least funding. So I'm just trying to raise awareness. It is preventable, and I just want to thank you for allowing me to speak. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. City Clerk?
Okay, next item is 7D, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, amending Section 74-8 titled Standing Committees, Chairpersons of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sunny Isles Beach to revise the title and references to standing committees for clarification that said regulations govern appointment of advisory boards and committees, repealing Section 74-9 titled City Boards and Agencies, providing for repealer, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date. And this is first reading.
Okay.
Thank you. So again, this derives from a conflict between the code and the charter. Currently, under the city's charter, it provides that standing committees shall be created by the mayor, and the mayor shall appoint all commissioners to all standing committees. However, in the city's code of ordinances in Chapter 74, it has a section entitled Standing Committees, which can be created by the commission and also have a different structure. So the intent of this ordinance is merely to clarify that in Chapter 74, those committees and boards are advisory boards. And as you can tell from the ordinance, it just merely crosses out standing and then supplements it with advisory boards for clarification. And that way there no longer exists a conflict between the code and the charter.
Okay. So this is a conversation that the city attorney and I had at length, and I gave you all a copy. And this, I didn't expect you to be able to read it because obviously you just got it. So it was very important for me to go back and understand what the past commissions were expecting and were trying to do with these committees. And as you can imagine, throughout the years, we've had many committees, starting with going back to a committee that apparently was raising funds for the police department. We had a committee that was a cultural committee before we actually had a department. And certainly past mayors, vice mayors, and commissioners were able to do this in order to get the input and advice from the public. And so in my conversations with the city attorney, I said, I'm not exactly sure if we should be correcting an ordinance to go against what is in the charter, despite the fact that we had resolutions that were inconsistent with both. So I wanted to make sure that the commission had this, but it took me quite a while to get this because this is going back all the way to 1998, and so that you had a better understanding of historically what it is we used to do. And it's really important because we're going to be appointing people to committees today, but it's important for us to know this going forward in case we want to add any sort of committees or boards, and then to really understand if we do have an error in the charter, does that need to be changed next year when we have another opportunity, because we'll have another election, since based on my conversations with the city attorney, the term standing committees in the charter could never really happen in our city if the entire committee had to consist of the commission, because then it doesn't permit public participation.
Can I clarify that?
Sure, go ahead,
There
please.
could be a situation where you have standing committees, so if the mayor would like, you can have, but it would be of the elected body. So you could appoint 3 of your fellow commissioners or even yourself to have a standing committee. But again, it would be of a typical standing committee, and actually I will point to the county charter has a provision for standing committees, and it says the commission may organize itself into standing committees, special committees, and ad hoc committees. So there can be, I just don't know if it's really as practical for such a small body. It's only 5 of you.
Right.
As opposed to, a county board of commission, there's 12, so they could probably, the elected body, could do a smaller committee of 5 or 7. For a commission of 5, I'm not sure how practical it is, but certainly you could.
But as we discussed, it would be challenging since we would all be subject to sunshine in the same way, and it would be still open to the rest of the commission. So there would be no real reason, since we all sit here on a committee already, since we're the commission. It would be odd, correct? How does it work? Because in the
Just
county,
like-
it's based on a strong mayor. We don't have that here. So how do they do it in the county?
They
Or
can-
give me an example.
They can organize themselves into committees. So they are a BOCC of 12. They could organize themselves into a subcommittee of 5 or 7, and that's task focused. But they still are governed by sunshine, the same way our boards are, the same way you are. Any board or committee is going to be governed by sunshine, with the exception of fact-finding committees.
Okay. Well, please.
Well, if I could just say, it comes down to what I've been talking about on recent commission meetings, that we need to have more workshops and be able to speak publicly more often so that we can accomplish more. And I believe that if we had a standing committee, let's say to work on maybe a beach project or something, a beach boardwalk, where the commissioners themselves could go to condo managers, and advocate for a beach walk, it might happen more rapidly than a committee that we're waiting 6 months or 8 months for them to report back to us and then vote on it. And then, like we were told with ESAC previously, that they just didn't have the time to go out and meet with building managers. So you can see my point. I believe we just have to have more workshops for this commission so that we can accomplish more for the residents.
Could a standing committee be a committee of one? No.
No,
No.
that
Okay.
wouldn't be a committee.
I'm just getting clarification. City manager wants to say something?
Mayor, I just wanted to add, while we're talking about committees, it came up during our individual meetings. There was a number of different questions about committees and potentially revising the ordinance to include things such as residency requirements, changing perhaps the terms of the committees from calendar year to fiscal year, and then also, as the Vice Mayor stated, a commissioner acting as a liaison for the different committees. So just something for you all to discuss and give us some further direction and clarification on.
And if I may?
Yes, please.
I was also thinking, I really like the way that the CRC is able to appoint their own chair from their body. And that's addressed here in this ordinance, also in F, and that's something I would like us to entertain as well, if we would want to give the, all committees the opportunity to choose their own chair. As long as we're talking changes.
Commissioner Lama?
Yeah, I just wanted to perhaps have Valerie explain the difference. You have the standing committees, and then you have the advisory committees. So maybe for the public to clarify the difference. And also, when in regards to standing committees, if it's noticed, you could still have public participation and presence there, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
So a standing committee typically is a committee that is comprised of the elected officials themselves. Okay, so I think most commonly people understand, at the state legislature, they have the Judiciary Committee or an Appropriations Committee. It's the legislators themselves that sit on it, right? Not appointees. Likewise, the county also has standing, special, and ad hoc committees of the commission itself. So that is what a standing committee is, versus an advisory board, an advisory committee, as kind of delineated in Chapter 74, where the commissioners are appointing individuals to serve on them that are not of the elected body.
Okay. So, well, do we have any public comment?
We do.
Okay.
Norman Edelcup.
Norman Edelcup, 244 Atlantic Isle, Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, former mayor. Past history was that we decided back in the early days that standing committees were not necessarily the right kind of structure for our city, for the very reason that was just mentioned, that we only had 5 commissioners, and we still only have 5 commissioners. As far as I know, you don't intend to increase that. So I think that we quickly got to the point of realizing that the only kind of committees that we wanted were to bring the public in and get them involved. So we created the advisory committees. At one point, each commissioner was basically going to be assigned to a particular subject matter for that one commission or committee that would be appointed. One commissioner maybe would be in charge of the education committee, another one would be in charge of maybe the finance committee, and et cetera. But we even finally decided not to carry that out and just let the advisory committees operate on their own, report to the 5 members of the full commission their ideas and facts and findings, and let the full commission, again, there are only 5 of you, make the whole decision without complicating the matters with a standing committee of yourselves that's only adding a layer of inefficiency into the whole process. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion or questions?
No. I think I got my point across.
Okay. Well, for me, I think that in our discussions, it makes more sense to look at this holistically and really look at everything that we've discussed, like the city manager has said, potentially adding things like residency requirements or the liaisons or letting them choose their own chair, to having more standing committees. So there's a lot here that I think that we potentially could be doing, unless you believe it's best practices to move this forward and then go back and make changes. I want to be as efficient as possible and not make it messy. I'd like it to be as clean as possible. What is your recommendation?
It's up to the will of the commission. If you want to go through tonight and go through each person's recommendations for changes, we could see if there's consensus on each amendment and try to push through it this evening. Or if you would like, we could defer it. We can come back with recommendations based on the feedback that you have and do a first reading at a later date.
Just because Commissioner Stuyvesant isn't here, I worry that we don't have her input, but whatever the commission wants to do, would you like to wait for Commissioner Stuyvesant? Would you like to have this first conversation now?
I would like to have the conversation now, namely because we have the committee conversation coming up, like, on the same agenda.
Well, I think we could still
So,
appoint them.
I mean, I'd like to at least attempt the
Okay.
discussion, so that we have some sense once we get to the committee part of the agenda.
Commissioner Lama, do you want to have the discussion now or to wait?
Yeah, I mean, I have some questions that I'd like
Okay,
to ask now.
let's do that.
Yeah.
All right, so do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. So as I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, Valerie, this is basically clarifying the difference between standing and advisory, correct?
Correct. Now we're going to be correctly labeling it in the
So
code
this
as
is-
advisory boards, not as a
Yeah.
standing committee.
Okay, so this is basically a relabeling or correctly labeling.
Correct.
Now, what comes next, obviously our ideas and whatever questions and inputs that we may have could obviously be taken care of later. So right now, I think step one would be, in my opinion, would be labeling it correctly and then, taking care of the rest. Would that be, I mean, to me, that's like the most logical. I don't know if anybody else has a question. No, but then implementing, so we just correct the language, so it's clear, we clarify it, and then.
The title, you mean?
The title, the label.
Okay.
Between the standing and the advisory committees. So we make that correction, and then whatever other input we may have, regarding those two, we could have a discussion and take care of that.
No, I think the discussion is, because we can only speak in an open forum, so it's to have that input now. That was my question. Should we have the input now so that the city attorney can go and take all of our input if there's consensus, or do you want to wait until Commissioner Stuyvesant is here? Because you can take that input into this first reading and include it.
Correct. If there's
Right.
consensus, it
You
would be
understand?
adopted as amended,
As
and then
amended.
you would be voting on the entirety at the second reading.
So we would give Commissioner Stuyvesant
No,
an opportunity.
okay, so, well, in my opinion, I would like to, what I had in mind is we take care of the labeling, we correct it, and then afterwards, we could probably have that discussion. I'm not ready to have a discussion about, what changes should be made to the languages regarding, some of the rules of an advisory committee, whether we appoint a chair for, or a liaison for each committee. So I'd like to give it a little bit more thought. But for me, I'm okay moving forward with labeling it correctly and making that clarification. And then we have the discussion. But it's up to you. If you want to discuss it, I'm all for it, yeah. I don't have anything to add aside from I'm okay with relabeling it,
Okay.
yeah.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, I would like to also leave available the fact that the mayor could appoint a standing committee of commissioners, should that need ever arise.
That's provided for in the charter, so that
Yes.
will remain. She'll always have that authority unless the charter is amended.
Perfect.
And that part was not touched in the.
You can't touch the charter.
In this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if you want to continue and nobody wants to defer this, what we'll have to do is then come back with, how would this work? We would have to then have it as on the next reading, potentially? Could we do
If
that
you're not
now?
going to discuss any amendments, then you will adopt it as is
As
on
is.
first reading.
Right.
And then it will come back exactly as is for second reading, because I can't make any interim changes, because only you guys can do that. You can make the changes at second reading, but it will likely require a change to the title, and so you'll have to come back again for another second reading.
Okay. So there were two, if I may.
Yes, go ahead, please.
There were, in the microphone, okay. So there were two things that, I mean, I already mentioned, I really liked the way it worked with the CRC, how they, they were able to choose their own chair. So that, but the other thing that we discussed in my meeting was, and to Mayor Edelkop's point about the budget, which I feel about the charter the way you feel about the budget. We need to hold on to that one. So we make the appointments I mean, we're doing it right now in March, but it's supposed to be January through December are the appointments. But the budget process it starts earlier. So we talked about changing the time when the appointments are made so that they align with the budget process, so that if we decide that we want 10 new committees, and I know that'll be a lot of fun for you guys, then we plan for it in the budget. But the way that we're doing it now is we do the budget, and then we have the budget conversation, the committee conversation, and we end up then scrambling for resources. So those would be my 2 cents for the discussion, whether this comes back in second reading or just so that you guys know that's where my head is. And I mean, we don't have to make that recommendation now, but it certainly is what I would bring up at second reading. And this way you guys have time to think about it. And I don't know then how that affects the committee appointments, because then we would also have to talk about, do we want to establish our committees now and then amend? If we end up amending, how would that play out? Or do we want to deal with the code and then finalize the committees? So that would be the other piece. And I leave that to you guys.
Just
Vice
in
Mayor?
terms of,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
Just in terms of timing, if you're going to defer to do the ordinance first, it's going to probably take at this point at least another 2 months if you're going to have to do 2 more readings, if you're not going to address those amendments now. So that's just something to keep in mind.
I would say, assuming that we're doing it monthly, but that we can make the vice mayor happy and have an extra meeting. But yeah, I mean, we would.
Well, not in
It
this
would.
case.
It would certainly delay the process. I
Okay.
understand that.
What input did you have?
Oh, I was just saying that in an election year also, if you have a runoff, then it's going to affect the committees being selected in January.
Okay. Commissioner Lama, you have nothing right now? All right, so some of the things that I had questions about, which was the same thing, was the budgetary questions, because at one point, I believe it was Commissioner Stuyvesant that was saying that, well, the city clerk needs to add staff because we really want to continue fostering these committees, and that is a real tangible item. We want to make sure that, it's funded. And so moving it to a fiscal year is consistent with what we do, and then potentially for this one time, we could extend their year so that we could appoint them, whether it be now or next month, and then would they be able to, let's say we change it to a fiscal year, would they be able to then continue on without reappointment in September?
I would recommend reappointment
Okay. But,
because the ordinance will then be effective in October,
okay,
appointments in October. You could reappoint the same individuals and then they would
Right.
complete their one-year term.
okay, but just so that it's cleaned up, I think that the understanding would be that we would probably reappoint those people unless something went wrong. The other thing that I had brought up was what I believe what Commissioner Viscara had said, that we're doing this in order to foster civic responsibility and engagement and potentially really bring up the next group of commissioners or leaders. I think it's important that the people on this committee have a true dedication to our city and ideally be registered voters. But if you don't agree with that, the other thing I thought of was they at least have to be residents of Sunny Isles Beach, and certainly citizens of the United States, because I think that's very important, since these people will be giving us recommendations that are spending the taxpayer dollars, and so we want the taxpayers who are voting for the people sitting up here to be the ones responsible for making those decisions. And then the other thing that I had wanted to discuss, and this might be a little touchy, is that I think that it's important that when we are giving the public opportunities, and please, no one take this personally, when we're giving the public opportunities to engage here, we're giving it to those people that normally don't have those opportunities. People that don't have access to the city building, don't have access to the staff, don't necessarily have access to us. So I would like to have a discussion about whether we should ever be appointing immediate family members of this commission to any committee or advisory boards if our purpose is to engage the public, which normally doesn't have access to that. I think those were my main items. City Manager, if you remember, was there anything else?
No, Mayor.
Okay. So obviously, that's why I came up with this packet for you all, because these are things that came up as I was doing the research, because I thought that it was really important to not just make it based on what we all think is the right thing, but use some of the historical data that we have and see where we think there were mistakes made and not make those same mistakes, or where we have new ideas. So I'm open for discussion of anything that any recommendations I've made.
Well, I'll start with the residency requirement.
Sure.
It's in the past, we also allowed business owners, because they're also stakeholders in the community. And it's a perspective that maybe, somebody who lives here but that's not a business owner may not have,
Right.
that may be missing in a committee. And I'm thinking of one person in particular who was in the CAC with us, and he was a wonderful, he had really good contributions.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the time he also lived here, but then he moved, but he was still a business owner, and his contributions were still good. So I'm comfortable with having the business owner component there. And I feel the same about the citizenship piece, because there's a lot of people who are not U.S. citizens who are lawful permanent residents, and so they don't vote, but they can still contribute to the community, and they may still have a good perspective. So those particular people are not individuals who would then become commissioners, right, if they're not citizens, but they may be in the process of becoming citizens, and maybe they'll be ready whenever the election cycle is. So, I think I wouldn't draw the line at citizenship. If you want to go there, maybe lawful status or something. But
I don't want to start
well, right, it's a slippery slope, I understand, but it's Not everybody who joins a committee is thinking of running for office, but they may still want to participate and offer and help. So I don't, those are my 2 cents on that. I mean, I'm just kind of thinking out loud.
Yeah, no, I know you
here,
are, but
know?
let me clarify, because I agree with
Yeah.
you, especially since the three of us sitting up here are immigrants. I agree with you. My thinking of it was more of perhaps it's, and maybe I'm overcomplicating it, giving preference to those people so that they have that opportunity. I don't want to exclude anyone. In fact, I think it would be fantastic if as many people as possible came to those meetings and their voice was heard. In fact, one of the recommendations I want to make is that all the people that had asked to join the committees be allowed to participate, maybe not as voting members, but certainly participate. So I agree with you on that. It was more about the commitment and there has to be some sort of, I would say, perk to being a resident and a voting resident of Sunny Isles Beach, something that has a little bit more weight because you have a lot more at stake. And it doesn't mean that you are necessarily more or less inclined to participate or more committed, and you could certainly not have as much to give, but it just differentiates it between those that will be potentially, like you had said, future leaders or future commissioners.
I mean, I'm a fan of the committees, as you know, and I do think it's one of the best ways, or if not the best way of really learning the ropes, if that's your plan. But I really would hate to create an environment where others don't feel that they can or should step up. So I don't know. And I'm of two minds about the family. Like, I'm thinking about the children, right? Like, I understand our kids have, or our family would have more access in general. Like, they have access to us personally. So I agree that we should leave those seats for people who don't have that kind of direct access, but at the same time, I feel, and then we're shortchanging people who may want to have that experience, and they can't because of something that has nothing to do with them, but because of who their family is. So, for me, I encourage my son. I didn't put him on the youth advisory. I said, you know what? If you want to help, you can sit in the other chairs, and you can participate like that. But that's a personal choice. I don't know that I would want to impose that on everybody and deprive other kids or other individuals who just happen to be related to us to then not have opportunities that they may want. But I'm very conflicted about that because my personal choice is to not take up that seat. But I don't know. I'm of two minds. I'm of two minds on it.
Commissioner Lama?
Yeah, so a little bit of going back to what you were saying, citizenship, I think not. I think that we should have a minimum residency requirement, perhaps been living here for a number of years, so they have some knowledge about the city. Having business owners participate in the committees, maybe I think it's a good idea because they could give us another perspective about the city, perhaps, and even give us some tips on, different things on how to improve the city. Regarding family members, yeah, that one is a tough one. Personally, my kids are not going to be, did not apply, but then do you deny them that opportunity if they're qualified, if they are really, motivated and want to participate? Why not, make them part of that process, right? Everybody goes through the process, at least give them that opportunity. I'm still divided on that. And overall, I think that this merits a longer discussion. We could probably be here all night discussing the committees and, different rules, having a liaison, like the way Jennifer, I think it was a great job, and you did a great job with the, with the charter committee. So I think that's a good idea too. So I think that perhaps we should have another discussion on this, not wait a month, Jerry? Okay, you
Yes.
like to wait too long. So, but yeah, yeah, all these things need to be discussed. And I know that Stan has some other ideas as well.
So, as far as this item is concerned, can we have a workshop for this item so that we could have a much more in-depth conversation and include Commissioner Stuyvesant?
It's whatever the commission
Yeah,
wants. You can
yeah,
defer
for
this
sure.
item if you'd like to a later date, that's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're down 1/5, so yeah, we need.
Vice Mayor, what would you like to do?
Okay, I think that we should have a full commission when we make these decisions.
Yes.
But as far as committees go, I think everyone, I've made my, made it pretty clear what my feeling is regarding commissions. As a commissioner myself, my job, I feel, is to do as much for the residents while I'm a commissioner. Committees, I would love to see standing committees initiated by the mayor for commissioners to go out and get things done and have more workshops so we could discuss it openly, invite the public, have their input. Unfortunately, as I've seen with the parks surveys and all, we are not getting the input from the residents that I would wish for and hope for in order that we could move forward more quickly. But as far as standing committees, if we could have more workshops and have the mayor initiate standing committees for certain important issues to move forward for the residents, I think that the commissioners, we have a smart commission, commissioners that have plenty of energy, and we can get a lot done for the residents.
Okay. So, City Attorney, I think we have a consensus to defer. Do I?
You're going to have to do a motion to defer.
Okay, we need a motion to defer.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Mauricio?
We don't need a roll call for this,
Oh, we
just a
don't,
voice
okay.
vote.
And then just for clarification, as far as the process for standing committees, how do we do that, or how do I go about doing that? Is that something that needs to be put on the agenda, or is that off of the agenda for next time?
If you would like to create a standing
Yes.
committee, I think you could just put it on. It would be like a motion.
Okay, so next month we'll address that.
Yeah.
I will address that next month.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay. Next item?
Next item is 7E, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 235 of the City of Sunny Isles Beach Code of Ordinances, creating Article 2 to be entitled Water Quality, providing for repealers, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and staff. This ordinance before you for first reading is an ordinance to enact some requirements that we have been requested to implement from the FDEP as part of our MS4 permitting, which we do as co-permittee with Miami-Dade County. What this does for us is implement a city ordinance that allows us to enforce penalties for illicit discharges from commercial sites and erosion control measures on construction sites. So this in the past, we've done this using Miami-Dade's requirements, but as of recently, we've been requested to enact this ordinance so we have a local power basically to enforce this.
Okay, so just for clarification, this is a lot of what we've already been doing, but this now is a requirement to document it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are there any questions or debate? No?
Yes.
Please go ahead,
So-
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. So my question is regarding what causes our flooding issues. This ordinance addresses flooding as well? Or
No.
No? Well, runoff, correct?
Well, yes, this is illicit discharges. The whole purpose of the MS4 is to protect the water bodies. which in
Right.
our case is Dunfowling Bay and the Intercoastal
Okay.
and in the Biscayne Bay. So what the state's looking for is to have a system of inspections and penalties if you discover illicit discharges such as oils or spills or
Right.
chemicals that may get into the surface waters
Right.
adjacent to our city. So
Yes.
it's a water quality issue. From the erosion control, it's the same thing. You don't want to have, once a construction starts, the sites are disturbed, there's a potential for rain to push the dirt into the system, the dirt gets into the waterways, then you have turbid waters. That's not a good issue. So it's to eliminate that potential.
Okay, so any time that you have water running off a lawn into the street where vehicles are leaking oil on a daily basis and oils from tires are, going onto the roadway and then the water washes it down the sewer, that's pollution, correct?
Yes, but
Right.
we have systems to counteract that on a normal daily basis.
What are those systems?
That's within our drainage systems, we have controls to catch that runoff and treat it prior to it getting discharged to the waterways.
We have filters on our sewer system now?
Not filters specifically, but all our systems are based on an drainage well system. So all the bad water goes down in through the drainage wells into the ground, down probably 100 feet plus. So that takes all the bad pollutants, captures it, puts it into the groundwater before it gets to a level where it overflows into the natural water bodies.
Okay, so if we were to be able to have the lawns on private houses, commercial properties, not cause as much runoff, that would be an advantage to our sewer system, correct?
Yes, it would, which is one of the reasons on all new projects, we require some on-site retention for the water that comes onto the lot, plus reconstruction of the roadside swales to catch the water.
Right, catch the water and also to allow for more absorption.
Yes, you get the infiltration, it catches all the pollutants, and then you'll hear of things like first inch of runoff, first flush, when you're looking at water quality, and that's where the heaviest pollutant load is. So
Right.
if you can catch that in the swale systems, then it can be absorbed before it gets to the drains and gets to the outfalls.
Right. So right now, at this time of year, when we have such little rainfall, it's important that what rainfall we have gets absorbed into the soil rather than go down the sewer system.
Correct.
So we're also addressing now the fact that developers need to pull out the gravel that causes a cement-like situation underneath the sod.
That's correct.
Yeah. Now, also, some cities now are not allowing for sod. I don't know if you're aware of that or not. Because of the root system of the sod, it also causes more runoff.
I'm not aware of that. We don't have
Yes,
that type
I've
of
been looking
ordinance.
into that as well.
Okay.
Anyone else? Do we have any public comment?
No,
All
ma'am.
right, I'll take a motion. Need a second? Alicia?
Thank you.
Commissioner Viscara,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joseph,
Yes.
Commissioner Lama,
Yes.
Mayor Svechen.
Yes,
The ordinance passes on first reading. Second reading will be scheduled for April.
great. Next item, please.
We're on to resolutions. 10A is a resolution ratifying the expenditure of forfeiture funds from the Department of Justice Federal Forfeiture Account for the purchase of a Ford F-150 vehicle. And Mayor, we're actually going to combine the next four items into one, so
Great.
they're all related.
Thank you.
10B is a resolution ratifying the issuance of a purchase order to Bardsell Ford for the purchase of a Ford F-150 truck. 10C is a resolution authorizing the Chief of Police to expend forfeiture funds from the Department of Justice Federal Forfeiture Account to fund a school resource sergeant position and to purchase a vehicle for said sergeant. 10D is a resolution approving the purchase of a 2020 Ford Hybrid Explorer. And before we turn it over to the chief, I just want to clarify for the record that there is a typo on two of the items. It's 10C and 10D. The correct amount should be $224,803.51, and that should be also reflected in the chief certification.
Which,
10C,
where in 10C?
in both the resolution and the chief certification.
Okay.
And for item 10D, the amount should be $44,803.51.
Okay. Chief?
Mayor? Chief, Mayor, before?
Sure.
May I? I just wanted to explain that it seems like the past couple of meetings, we've had a number of vehicle purchases, and it's because we've had to piecemeal our vehicle purchases. Normally, we would buy our vehicles at one time, but because of supply chain issues, we're having difficulty in finding vehicles, so we're bringing them to you as we get them.
Thank you for clarifying. I did have questions from the public asking why we're buying a car at each meeting, so thank you.
Yes, thank
Please
you,
go
Mayor.
ahead, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission, staff. The Police Department is seeking approval to ratify the use of Department of Justice forfeiture funds to purchase a Ford F-150 from Bartow Ford for $61,610.75 via Charlotte County Contract Number 202-1000541. The vehicle is going to be used by our Strategic Services Division and will be subtly marked with the Police Ghost graphics for increased traffic enforcement. And I'm going to go on to 10B.
Yes, Chief, we grouped all of them together,
All right.
the next four.
Thank you. The Police Department is seeking approval to ratify the purchase of a Ford F-150 from Bartow Ford for $61,610.75 via Charlotte County Contract Number 202-1000541. The vehicle is going to be used again for the, by the Strategic Services Division, marked with the Police Ghost graphics for increased traffic enforcement. Next, the Police Department is seeking approval to expend Department of Justice forfeiture funds to pay for the salary and benefits of a full-time school resource officer with the rank of sergeant for $180,000. The position will allow our police department to have a presence, much-needed presence at the school, and will supplement the current police officer provided by the Miami-Dade School Police. The SRO with the rank of sergeant will be expected to work with, in conjunction with Miami-Dade Schools Police to serve the students, teachers, parents, as well as participate in educational programs such as DARE. And lastly, the Police Department is seeking approval to purchase a 2022 hybrid Ford Explorer for the recently funded school resource officer with the rank of sergeant position for $44,803.51 via Charlotte County Contract 202-100-054 with the Department of Justice forfeiture funds. This amount includes all emergency equipment and markings.
That's it?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the commission? Vice Mayor? If you can just please clarify the school resource officer, and are you able to tell us who it is? Or can we talk about when that's going to start and what's the arrangement with the school board and, you know, how the historical information that we all need, that I know, but if you can explain to everyone else what we used to do before, what we have now, and what we want to do in the future.
Sure. The school resource officer is going to be Sergeant Oneida Gonzalez. Happy to bring her back into school. We're missing the much-needed presence from our PD. We're missing that link with the students that we currently don't have since Officer Ruiz left. We're looking to also come and expand the Explorer program. The school resource officer is also going to, her responsibility is also going to be PCP across the street after school hours from 3 to 6. So her hours are going to be 10 to 6. And she's going to also, I guess, create an Explorer program we're looking to do in the future with our kids that are our residents at the school. and we really appreciate the support. I think it's much needed, and I'm excited. Again, her responsibilities in the summertime will also be hitting all the parks. We're looking to put an office maybe at the spot, at the new location, and we want the kids to build more of a bond with the police department through her.
Sure.
When will she start? Maybe I missed that.
We're looking, sorry about that, I didn't say.
Yeah, you didn't say it, right?
Sorry
Yeah,
about
I was
that.
like, am I- yeah.
So we're looking, it was May 30th will be the first day as after Labor Day, I'm sorry, Memorial Day. So May 30th, we're looking to start her at the school. I know it's towards the end of the year. We wanted to get her in as soon as we could, staff allowing. But I think it's important because it's going to also give us that necessary overlap, you know, at the park, at PCP across the street. And then in the summertime, she's also going to be responsible for the parks along with our community resource unit and be out there with the kids and the parents.
Thank you. I just want to add that Sergeant Gonzalez has always been a huge asset to that school. She's very much missed, and she has for years built a close relationship with the staff there, with the students, and having her come back is going to really, I would say, raise the standard of some of the behavior that I've seen there personally. We're still going to have the SRO from the Miami-Dade County schools, so this just means we have more coverage in the school, and we could bring back a lot of the programs that we used to do in conjunction with the school that were revolved around pedestrian safety and human trafficking and that sort of thing. And the fact that she'll be there at PCP until 6 o'clock is very much needed. In case anybody wants to really see what that money is going to be spent on, go to Pelican Park tomorrow at around 4 o'clock. And you'll see how wild it gets, because we just have so many, you know, it's great. We have a lot of kids, but, you know, a lot of kids with water balloons and other things that they bring.
I'm very excited, and I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to make this move and make this into a reality. I think it's very important, especially for our school and for our kids.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We've actually pushed for it since the Texas incident, and I'm glad to see that it came to fruition.
Do we have any public comment?
No, ma'am, for
All right.
neither of the four.
I'll take a motion.
Mayor,
Second.
before we get
Sure.
the second, can I just clarify for the record?
Sure.
I'm going to request the motion to be as amended for item 10C and 10D.
Okay, as amended, then motion from Commissioner Viscara?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Okay.
Go ahead,
10E has been deferred. We're on to 10F. It's a resolution ratifying a second amendment and approving a third amendment to the agreement with the Coordino Group for Planning and Zoning Services.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. The proposed resolution for your consideration is to ratify the Second Amendment and approve the Third Amendment to the contract agreement with the Coordino Group. This contract is for professional planning and zoning services, including civil and traffic engineering on an as-needed basis. The Second Amendment, executed this past February, renewed the contract for an additional one-year term to February 2024. And the proposed Third Amendment is to increase the compensation for this renewal term by $150,000. This is not increasing the budget for the Planning and Zoning Department, but allocating currently budgeted professional services funds to this contract. The current not-to-exceed amount in the contract is $290,950, which about $56,000 is for the shuttle bus study funded by the Transportation Department. This means that $235,000 of the compensation amount in the contract agreement is for planning services. Of that $235,000, $60,000 is set aside as reimbursable by applicants, which I'll explain in a moment, and the remaining $175,000 is for professional planning services. Today, the PO for the Coordino Group Professional Planning Services has $16,660 remaining. Going back to the $60,000 that is set aside as reimbursable, these funds are for planning and zoning applications that require commission approval or zoning hearings. The most common types of these applications are site plan approvals, major modifications for approved site plans, and variances. Since March 2022, when the initial contract agreement was executed, $11,750 has been paid to the Corradino Group and reimbursed by those applicants. Therefore, the PO for reimbursable expenses has $48,250 remaining. So to summarize, this third amendment will add $150,000 in compensation for this renewal term, which will increase the not-to-exceed amount of the contract of $440,950. So I know I just read a lot of numbers, but I'm here to answer any questions, as well as Joe Corradino. Thank you.
Any questions? Commissioner Viscara?
As the English major, I had a very difficult time with, with your comments, but I appreciate them because when I initially read it, it looked like a really big number and it seemed very disproportionate to me on first read. But then I understood that the bottom line of this is it's a multiple year contract, and this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, roughly $150,000 for the next year. And
That is correct.
The sum of it, right?
That's correct, and it will be allocated for this renewal term. That doesn't mean that we will use all $150,000, but that means that it is available for whatever studies or on an as-needed basis. So zoning applications fluctuate. Sometimes we don't have a lot of applications coming in. Sometimes we do have many, so that's why we need it on an as-needed basis, the $150,000.
Perfect, thank you.
Commissioner Lama? Vice Mayor?
I just think that our building department needs a do-over. We need to really rework it, and also we need to have workshops to work on our comprehensive plan. And that's what I'm going to keep pushing for.
Great. Again, for clarification, approximately what percentage of this is covered by fees? You said 60,000 approximately, that you believe?
60,000 is set aside as reimbursable. So that's for when we use the Corradino Group to review zoning hearing applications, like site plan approvals. However, the total application fee and revenue for the department, which includes our short-term rental program, more than covers our consulting services budget. So with all the money that we collect between our application fees and our short-term rental licensing program, it covers all of our consultant fees and then some.
That's a question. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Do we have any public comment?
No, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, for coming. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next item?
We're going to combine the next two items as well, Mayor. 10G is a resolution ratifying the purchase of a 2023 StarCraft All-Star minibus from Creative Bus Sales. And 10H is a resolution ratifying the waiver of the bidding requirements of Chapter 62 of the City's Code of Ordinances, ratifying the purchase of a certified 2021 Ford passenger van, Transit XLT from Midway Ford.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commission, and City Manager's Office. Tonight, the city is seeking approval to ratify the purchase of a 2023 14-passenger minibus that was purchased piggybacking the Florida Sheriff's Association contract for a grand total of $134,548. This is the first item, and the second item that we combined is requesting approval to ratify the purchase of a certified 2022 Ford passenger van in the grand total of $55,619.20.
Great. Thank you. Have any questions from the commission? Commissioner Viscara? No. Commissioner Lama?
No.
Vice Mayor? I just want to make some comments as far as, thank you for putting the graphic up. It really makes it a lot easier to understand what it is we have and what we're purchasing. If you can speak a little bit about some of the challenges we recently had with our bus service for clarification.
In regards to transportation, I'll direct those questions to Audra as she oversees transportation.
Thank you.
Our Assistant City Manager.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City staff. The recent challenges have mostly revolved around delays in buses that we had already ordered, the age of our existing fleet, and the repairs. And due to supply chain issues, every time we send out something for repairs, there's an extended period of time before those buses come back. So what we've found is we have an aged fleet. And if you look at the left side of the graphic versus the right side of the graphic, bus 1221, which is at the very top, is a 2012 model. We should be running approximately on a 7-year replacement cycle. We have extended that, unfortunately, due to supply chain issues, even though we had buses ordered, and now we are trying to bring that back where it needs to be. It had gotten out between 9 and 10 years, which it should not at this point. We just cannot keep these buses with the type of idle time and the run time that they get in our city streets and the constant stopping and starting. Although we don't run as many miles as a larger fleet, we have a lot of idle time that is wearing on our buses dramatically and causing a lot of downtime in repairs. And then we can't get the parts to repair them when we need to. So what we're proposing is we have 6 buses currently, and we intend to have 6 buses in the future as well. However, we need to up the age of those and get those to be newer. So what we've got with the ordering this year is we have a diesel bus that's already been on order. It's been on order for 2 years. They finally put it into production in February. We anticipate receiving that one April. I shouldn't say we will receive it. The dealer or the manufacturer will receive it. It has to be painted, and then it has to receive graphics and all of its ancillary equipment, GPS, DVR, and all the other things that it takes to put ours on the road. So even if we get it in April, we'll be lucky to have it on the road by June, unfortunately. It takes a significant amount of time to get these other things done. In the meantime, we have to keep the fleet running, and we keep having outages where another older bus goes down and we have to run other vehicles to make up for it. So our plan is, for the future, is to always have our 6 buses, which we keep 3 running at any given point in time, as we've discussed in the past. We have Orange Line, Blue Line, Orange 1 and 2, running north and south, and a Blue Line, which runs a slightly different route. 3 buses, you would think 3 spares would be enough. Unfortunately, due to the age of our buses and the repair conditions that we've been facing, it hasn't worked. So the ratification you did today for a van and the purchase of a minibus, those are to supplement that fleet. We often have field trips for PCP and or senior events through our Cultural and Community Services Division. With buses down, I can't run any of the field trips either. So the plan is to have our 6 buses, have them be a little bit newer as we manage to get our replacements done appropriately, and have the 2 smaller vehicles, which are together would make up another bus, or be able to run the field trips, or we often use a van or a smaller bus to run the Blue Line because it is a less traveled, less passenger count type route. So we will have options to back up buses when they come down. As of today, I have 1 out for repair, 2 out for repairs. Again, out of the 6. So right this moment, I have 3 on the road and 1 spare. Always frightening. Because if one goes down, I have 1 more spare, but then if another goes, and we had an incident in February. What month was that? Dear God, I can't keep track anymore. We had 1 day in February where literally all 6 buses were down on the same day. And that just can't happen again. So this is our plan to offset that and have backups. We send these vans out often in the morning. Even though we are not a school bus system, we transport many of our citizens' children to school. And so the way we run these now is we have the routes all running to go to the various places that pick up the bulk of our children and get them to school on time every morning. And if something happens with one of these buses, we have vans to back them up. We'll send the van right behind them, or if we know we have an overflow of children or too much passenger count on a particular route, we're sending vans out to supplement. So that is the rationale for the plan that you see on the screen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Do we have public comment?
No, ma'am,
Okay.
for neither.
Commissioner
Second.
Viscara first, second Lama. All in favor?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. The next item is 10I, a resolution approving a grant agreement with the State of Florida Department of Environmental Protection
That is Audra. Or is it city manager, assistant city manager, who's presenting?
Audra?
Audra?
No, I don't think, this is for the grant?
Yes.
Is that Audra or Susan? The grant?
State grant.
I apologize. I wasn't realizing that was my item. Okay, we have been awarded a $400,000 grant from the state of Florida Department of Environmental Protection. It is a general appropriations award, meaning it's a grant, but it's state money, not federal or federal through state. So this is to ratify the acceptance of that money and utilize it for our Central Island stormwater drainage project.
Okay. Is there any questions from Commissioner Lama?
Yeah, just if we could state when the project will start and when, more or less, let's not give it a date, but a date range, more or less when do you think this will be finished?
I can tell you when it's going out to bid. The bid date is going to be by the end of this month, Genesis. And is Rick still here? He's not here to address the start of the project. Susan, did we have an actual start date? May you assist, please?
The goal is to be out to bid actually in April with starting hopefully before the end of the year. They're saying fall, but if it's November, December, I think we'd be pleased. And just part of the reason for that is that Genesis is doing something never done. It's a joint procurement with the City of North Miami Beach Water Division, and that brings up some complications. But at the end, it'll be a better project because they're going in, we'll combine the projects, go in and do everything at the same time instead of tearing it up and then delaying the project. So we may start a little later, but we should finish sooner.
Okay.
And finish a good 2 years.
2 years, okay, okay.
25 then.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be great. Well, it's great that we were able to get that grant and can't wait for that to be finished, yeah, yeah.
We have multiple grant funding sources that are funding this project.
Awesome.
Commissioner Viscara?
Great.
Do you have any questions?
Free money is good. Thank you.
Always.
Vice Mayor?
Just happy to see the alleviation of flooding in the Central Island.
And I just have a question about the 400,000. So the 400,000 is a grant. How did we get this money?
This one came through legislative action.
So from our lobbying?
Yes.
From Rombooks? Okay, great. And from the last session, not the current session, obviously?
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
I believe that is correct.
Okay. Well, it couldn't be this current session.
Correct. I mean, it's
Okay.
not the current one that's coming up, correct?
The one that's we're in session now.
In session right this second, no.
And 400,000 is what portion of the entire project?
We're looking at approximately 6 million in total.
Okay. And are we going to be asking for more money this session to fund this? Have we asked for more money? Will we be
Yes.
asking?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Yes, we have submitted already for this year.
Right. And given that it's at least a 2-year project, we can keep submitting every session so that we can potentially increase the amount that we get.
That is correct,
Perfect.
yes.
All right. Thank you, Audra.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Any public speakers?
No, ma'am.
All right, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Thank you. Next item, please.
10J is a resolution expressing support for Senate Bill 544, which would provide penalties for aggressive careless driving resulting in serious bodily injury or death and property damage.
Commissioner Viscara?
Thank you. So normally when we talk about support or opposing, supporting or opposing a piece of legislation, it'll have a Senate bill and a House bill, and they move through the committees if they get any traction through the House and the Senate. This time there's no companion, there's no House companion bill, only Senator Pizzo filed his bill as I'm sure everybody in here is aware, this is related to the death of Anthony Resnick, and we tried to get this passed last year and it didn't, and so it was supposed to be refiled this year. But only the Senate side got filed. That makes it highly unlikely to pass. I'm disappointed because the House side should have been filed, but it wasn't. So I'm asking in the unlikely, basically the planets have to align. There are exceptions to the rule. It's an unlikely scenario that this bill would pass, but should all the planets align and Senator Pizzo can work his magic, I'd like this resolution to be there to support it. And that's what I'm asking.
Commissioner Lama?
No, I'm in full support of this, this bill, and, yeah, it's a shame that the House did not file this companion bill, but yeah, should all the planets align, hopefully it could pass.
Vice Mayor?
I'm actually going to be in touch with Fabian Basabi. Maybe there's something he can do to get this bill moving.
Well, please, because I was very, I wasn't going to bring him up. I know he's new, and it's his first session, but I'm very disappointed that he didn't file it. It's hard enough to get anything passed. This makes it practically impossible. But sometimes, sometimes there's alternate routes, and, we might as well support the possibility. But tell him, please, next year, make sure number 1 on his list.
I just want to add, do we have any public comment?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I just want to add, thank you, Commissioner Viscar, for continuing to bring this up. It's not going to pass because if it's not filed, it's too late to file anyways. But it's important to keep this message alive so that our residents and those that are listening to this understand the process of getting things done. And it takes sometimes many, many years. And so that we don't forget Anthony's name and we don't forget what happened and we don't forget how it happened, and that whoever is on this commission in the next few years or so understands how passionate this community feels about making these laws stricter and how much we support this family and this bill, and how even though this session just started 3 weeks ago, we should already be starting to think about next session. And if anyone that's listening or you in the audience feel really strongly about this, I encourage you to speak to Commissioner Viscara and help, work on a strategy to start those conversations right now. Because ideally, whenever you want something to pass, you do need you need huge support from both the House and the Senate, and it needs to be bipartisan support, and it needs to have the support of the Speaker and the President as well. So thank you, Commissioner Viscara, for bringing it.
There are exceptions to the rule, but unlikely. So
highly improbable, but thank you.
We send send it out into the universe.
It should always stay on top of mind for us, absolutely. I'll take a motion.
Motion.
Take a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item, please.
10K is a resolution strongly opposing Senate Bill 682 and House Bill 671, which provides comprehensive revisions to Florida's permit and plan review statutes, including removal of statutory provisions relating to requiring building permits for certain residential dwellings, adding requirements that local jurisdictions reduce certain permit fees, and revising timeframes for approving or denying certain building permits.
So unfortunately, this one, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
This one does have a Senate and a House bill. This is the one we should have skipped the House bill on. It's a very problematic piece of legislation. We actually had our building department go through it and provide feedback to the Florida League of Cities as to what it might mean, how it might impact our city. So that, and if you don't mind, Clay, did you want to talk about specifically for us what this bill may mean? Thank you.
Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City staff. Yes, I'm in total agreement with your opposition of these two bills. A little bit of my history, I've had 40 years working in the building department administrations with two different cities, the city of Fort Lauderdale and the city of Sunny Isles Beach. And there's a big difference between our building department organizations. Well, a city the size of Fort Lauderdale they can afford to have the divisions of a plan review division, an inspection division, and they can provide the speed that's going to be required in this, with these new bills of turnaround time. We're a small city, and all of our inspectors have multiple disciplines. What I mean by that is they're inspectors, they're plan reviewers, and they have dual function in our departments. They do our plan review and they do our inspections. Well, with this turnaround times that the new bills are asking for, in some cases 3 days, and it's talking about daily reductions in our permit fees by 25% a day, we're going to have to kind of expand our department. We will have to have a separate plan review division, which would be a standalone plan reviewer. So that's additional staff for each discipline that we would have to have. We'd have to better define our turnaround times for application. Right now, we take in a building permit application, and we see that it goes through Public Works and Zoning Department first, and we jointly look at it at the time, you know, when the Zoning Department gives a customer their comments, we jointly look at that application at the same time. So it's kind of a shared timeline. Well, the way this new bills break it out, we have to better define our timelines. So we will have to probably have to get with the city staff and better separate the zoning review, probably have a zoning application, and have it go through that zoning process, address all the comments, and then get zoning approval before we even take in a building permit application because of the restrictions of this timelines.
And I would add that just like your department would be facing these challenges and needing additional specialized staff, every municipality across the state would be, or many, or most would be having the same challenge. So good luck finding the workers. To me, the most egregious part of this is that because some of the deadlines for your turnaround time are very, very short for different aspects of it. And one of the aspects of it is that if the city fails to meet the deadline, in some instances, it's just considered approved. And you run the risk of having subpar work, being approved and creating unsafe conditions. Which I don't understand, considering what we just witnessed in Surfside, how this, I mean, I find this so irresponsible. But I did my homework, and I see that I think the people who are proposing this are from areas that are eager to develop, their areas, and so they have a different perspective. They don't know what it is. I don't think they understand the impact that this would have. But this would be horrible for us. Do you agree? So I would ask that you oppose it, and I'll give you the floor.
Commissioner Lama, did you have any
I
question?
applaud you for your stand on this. It was something that, it's not just this part of this will probably get passed. Our recent history of legislature has put tighter restrictions on plan review and permitting process and fee structures. And it's been making it more difficult for a jurisdictional building department to operate. And this isn't the only thing that we're going to be facing in the next couple of years. We're also going to be facing the changes in Chapter 8 in the Florida Building Code with existing buildings and maintenance. They're going to step up building maintenance to lesser years, to 30 years in our area, and it's going to require us to expand our department to, we're going to have to start, we started that approach last year, but we're probably going to have to complete this goal of starting another division for existing buildings and helping to maintain code enforcement with these buildings so they can see that they're properly maintained. And that's going to add to our timeline restraints. So it's a challenge we really have to start working on now. And probably looking for that little separation so we can document timelines better.
Commissioner Lammer, do you have anything?
Yeah, I don't understand this bill. Obviously, it's not taking into consideration the municipalities, let's say the negative effects that it could cause. And I don't know where it's at in the committees. I haven't checked on it lately, but do you know? No? So I think that maybe we could take this resolution that we're passing and share it with some of our neighboring municipalities. So they all go to Tallahassee, and then we have a united front, and they see that this is something that will be have negative consequences for cities. I mean, like us, like Sunny Isles Beach, that thankfully we do have money. We could probably hire staff, but I mean, there's a lot of municipalities that don't have money. They're going through a lot of financial problems. You have what you just mentioned as far as the assessment of the buildings, that instead of 40 years, you're talking about 25 or 30 years. So, yeah, I don't think this bill has been well thought out, and we do need to share it with other municipalities so they could pass this resolution too. And yeah, go ahead.
That we may be able to afford to hire the staff, but the workforce may not be able to produce.
Correct, yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
Right now, the recertification problem has been a Dade County and Broward County problem. It's going to become the whole state's problem.
Correct.
And so what you said about shortages and professional certified staffing is we're already having a big shortfall there. I've had an application for an electrical plan reviewer inspector for 2 years, and we haven't been able to fill that position. I have a plumbing inspector position open. It's been open almost 2 years. We have not been able to fill that position. The private providers, the private industry is giving not only higher salaries, but better benefits than we can give them. They're giving them take-home cars. They're doing things that it's making it hard for us to compete against against these private services. And one other item on this assessment that you had here, I think this is kind of a county-wide practice that when we have a private provider, if they're providing the inspection services, we discount our permits fees right now around 17% for inspections, and then for plan review. If they do the plan review, it's another 17%. But this new bill says that we have to reduce our fee by 75%.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah. That's insane.
So it is. It really is.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor, did you have anything?
I just think that we need to wholeheartedly oppose this bill, and I believe it only benefits rural communities, which is probably the legislators that are putting this up, and I'm in full support of opposing it wholeheartedly.
Okay. Do we have any public comment? All right, take a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item?
Next item is a resolution approving the appointing Commissioner Vizcarra as the city's delegate to the Miami-Dade League of Cities and Commissioner Lama as the alternate to attend meetings from May 2023 through May 2024.
Any questions from the commission?
Okay, so thank you. I don't know, I think Alex has been doing a very good job.
No, but I think I've been doing it for a while, so
You have, and I've been alternate, but I was
yeah.
also thinking, because I don't know. I don't know if I can make that commitment with the other things I have. So I appreciate that, but I don't know. I'd like to see what, maybe, well, Commissioner Stuyvesant's not here, but
I have something else for her.
Listen,
One
I
second,
think-
Alex, hold on.
yeah, so.
You don't want to take the appointment?
I think that right now, this is not the best time for me to take on the
Got it.
extra.
No explanation needed.
Responsibility, but I mean, I wouldn't mind being alternate as I've been, and I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be the least bit upset if we gave the opportunity to the vice mayor or commissioners.
Just to clarify, everyone can go to these meetings, so you certainly can continue to go to that.
Correct,
So,
which I've been, but I don't think right now is a good time for me to take on the extra commitment to be the number one.
Vice Mayor, would you like to be the
Yes, I would
delegate? Perfect,
absolutely be
okay.
happy to accept.
And you'll accept being the alternate, and we'll all still go? Perfect.
I'm sorry, can I just clarify who's the alternate? We're going to say with Commissioner Lama.
Lama is the alternate, and Vice Mayor is the delegate. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, we do. David Virgil.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commission. My name is David Virgil. My address is 17500 North Bay Road, Sunny Isles Beach. I just have one unimportant comment about the Miami-Dade League of Cities. I went on their website just before this meeting, and I noticed that they have a photo of a beachside city, and it's not in Miami. It's actually Gold Coast, Australia, and I just wanted to suggest to the appointee to recommend them change the photo to somewhere in Miami, and that's.
That is actually a very important comment, and thank you. And so now you have your first job, Vice
Correct.
Mayor, as a delegate. Thank
You
you.
can send them a picture of Sunny Isles.
All right, so I'll take a motion.
Thank you, David.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item, please.
We're going to take the next three items together, Mayor. 10M is a resolution approving the selection of members to the Environment Sustainability Advisory Committee for calendar year 2023. 10N is a resolution approving the selection of members to the Mobility and Pedestrian Advisory Committee for calendar year 2023. And 10O is a resolution approving the selection of members to the Youth Advisory Committee for calendar year 2023.
Okay, so I just want to give a little bit of historical on this for those that are listening or watching and in the audience. So these committees were created by ordinance last year. We were technically supposed to make these appointments in January, so we're a little bit delayed. The process is that all the applicants were supposed to submit an application online, and the deadline was, if you
March
remind.
10th.
March 10th. March 10th was the deadline. However, there is a little bit of a discrepancy in our code, because our code also allows the commission to appoint those who have either missed the deadline or did not submit an application at all. It just requires them to submit an application after the fact. I had no?
No, it has to be done before the selection of the members is made, the vote for the selection of the members.
Okay.
So it needed to be in before this meeting.
So we have all of them in.
Yes, we should have all of them in before.
Do
the
we or
selection.
we don't?
The application was open until March 10th. We did get some, so just to add to it, we did have some problems, technical problems with the system where some applicants weren't able to submit an application. So we extended that a little bit until Tuesday. And that's when I asked the commission to have the names of the appointments by. But technically, like you said, the code does say that the commission isn't limited to select someone from this pool of applicants. They can select anyone they want, so long as the application is submitted prior to the vote for the selection of the committee members.
Correct. And so I want to reiterate how we all, despite our opinions on committees, and I'm somewhat I agree with you, we all do want public participation, and we want people to come to meetings, we want them to meet as well. And so I appreciate everyone that submitted applications. I think that it's a little bit disheartening for those that didn't realize that they could submit them later, because I did get a few phone calls where people asked me after the fact, and I said, I'm sorry, it's too late. So I encourage anyone that is not chosen to please still come to the meetings. These meetings are open to the public. You can, especially the youth advisory. I don't think any of the youth are here, but those will definitely be interactive. And as an appointed person on the committee, it just means that you get a vote. But as I understand from the past committee meetings, and you probably were, like you mentioned, to many of them, the public is encouraged to participate whether they're an official member or not. Is that correct? So, and then the other thing that I wanted to briefly discuss before we make the appointments is one of the committees is 5 members versus 7 members. So I wanted to entertain perhaps a discussion of making them all consistent so that they're all 7-member committees rather than 7, 5, 7, because I'm not exactly sure what the rationale was, why one was 5 and
The
Mauricio.
MAPSAC.
That, right.
MAPSAC.
And so maybe it's because we didn't anticipate as many applications, but now I feel like since we have more than enough applications, and because due to some of the confusion, and because we don't want people to feel like we want to include them, I want to see what you all thought about making it all consistent, all 7 members rather than 7, 5, 7.
But wouldn't that require, is that by?
I have to look
Valerie?
at the code. So the Chapter 74 provides that committees can either be 5 or 7 members, but because the board was created by ordinance, I just want to check the code to see if that specific board by ordinance is only 5. It's not? No? Okay.
Please check it
Then-
because I'm not the attorney, but I looked it over and I didn't see it in there.
So what do you all think, Commissioner Viscar? Do you have any objection to making it 7? Since we have more than enough applicants?
I have my concerns about, procedurally. So it's, which one is 7?
Both the
That's the
ESAC and the Youth
Environmental and
Advisory
youth.
And
is
the
7.
mobility one is 5.
It's 5.
And what about the youth?
It's 7.
The youth is 7. I don't remember why we would. Okay, I mean, I like uniformity. I don't know why one would be different. But I go back to my original, back to the, whatever this was, the Chapter 74, is how is this gonna work if we're going to be discussing the code that governs, I'm sorry, if we're going to be discussing the code that governs committees, and now we're thinking about reshaping one of the committees, which doesn't sound unreasonable. Again, I like things to be uniform. I feel like we should maybe have that whole conversation at the same time, but then I feel bad that the people, we have individuals who applied who are here, and we asked them to jump through hoops, and they did. But I feel that we're getting jumbled up, and I'd like to maybe just have the whole all the elements of the conversation present at the same time. But that would mean delay the appointments.
So, for
I don't know, I'm
clarification,
just thinking out loud again.
I understand what you're saying, but for clarification, can you clarify how that would work?
Well, let me just answer the first question as to the MAPSAC. When it was created, it appears in section 6-2 of the code, and it does not indicate the number of members. So if you would like to have 7 instead of 5, you're at liberty to do so. That's provided for under Chapter 74. You could do this one of 2 ways. You can defer the appointments, but like I indicated, because there's going to be 2 readings of an ordinance, you're delaying it for quite some time. In the alternative, you can make your appointments now. We do the ordinance changes. They would apply prospectively, right? You're not going to be ousting people that are already there. But for example, if you're going to move the date for October, then when you make your reappointments in October, then it would be effective by then.
Say that, the October part again?
So like, for example, then the next time you appoint, whether you change it to be in October or your subsequent appointments, then those rules would apply to that subsequent appointment.
Okay.
If you choose to make your appointments today.
So it would stay as is for today, and then if or when.
As is with the
Current rules.
757?
Under the current rules.
Under current rules.
Because you indicated if we're going to make some other changes, so in my mind, I'm thinking residency requirements, all of these other things that would not be applicable yet because that ordinance has not been adopted. If you can make your appointments tonight, move forward with making the ordinance changes, but those ordinance changes would only be applicable prospectively. So when you reappoint, then those would come into effect.
In October.
If you choose to make
we choose to
appointments in October, you would have revised to code to provide that. Otherwise, it would be in
Understood.
January.
But when it comes to the number
Wait,
for...
hold on.
Sorry.
Commissioner Viscar.
Well, I mean, I have made my choices, and, you know, mine are not, I don't have any inclination to change my choices, so it doesn't affect me, but I don't know. I think I would prefer to have the entire conversation. I don't want to piecemeal it. I would like to have the appointments conversation and the ordinance, the code conversation together. I mean, I can make my commitment to my choices, but I don't know.
No, it's fine. It's a
that's
conversation.
sort of where
Commissioner
I'm at,
Lama,
yeah.
what are your thoughts?
No, going back to the question I was going to ask you, Valerie. So when it comes to MAPSAC, you mentioned that there's no specific number in the ordinance? There's no...
Correct. So all of these are governed by 74, which says you can have 5 or 7.
Okay, so
And then when the appointments were made for MAPSAC initially, they only appointed 5.
Okay.
But you can do 7.
And it follows the same parameters as with ESAC, where the mayor and vice mayor get 2 appointments each?
That would, yes.
So let's say we would move forward with the appointments today. Technically, the mayor and vice mayor can appoint for MAPSAC, right? They can appoint 2 people today, and we could do it as amended, or they could just go ahead and appoint 2 people, and we each appoint 1, the rest of the commissioners, and the total will be 7 for MAPSAC. Can we do that
I don't know
tonight?
if everybody's prepared to make their appointments. Was this conversation?
No, but, yeah. I don't know if everybody's prepared. Then if not everybody's prepared, then we'll have to, I guess, defer.
No, you can make the appointments for now and then supplement it the next meeting.
Or supplement the other 2, let's say, that
Yeah.
there's.
Unless
make
you're
it 7.
prepared to
Okay,
make those
understood.
appointments now.
Okay, I understand.
I feel like this is, again, we don't have a full commission. I'd like to hear Commissioner Stuyvesant's input on this as well.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor?
Well, I would like to say that as far as efficiency goes, I believe that for this session, we should keep the MAPSAC as 5 and move forward, and amend it for the next session if you'd like it to be 7.
Can we do that? I mean, won't we have to decide now, and then next session, we just go with the 7?
I think what he's saying is just to make your appointments tonight as originally proposed.
Make appointments as originally proposed.
Which was 5.
Then, in the next session, we go from 5 to, then we'll just have 2 positions
year.
pending for next year.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
To keep it 5 on the MAPSAC as it is, and just for efficiency, we have ESAC 7, the Youth Council 7, MAPSAC 5. Let's move forward. We're all prepared to make our nominations, and then change, if you want to change the MAPSAC to 7 individuals for next year, then do that. We have plenty of time to do it without any interruption.
Okay, so my comments are, I think what Commissioner Lama was saying, that yours, Commissioner Viscar's, and Commissioner Stuyvesant's appointments are not affected by making it 7. Is that what you're asking?
We're only the one, well, I mean, we only appoint 1.
Right, exactly. So it doesn't necessarily, the question is whether you want to make it consistent as 7 or leave it as 5. Because Commissioner Stuyvesant would also have, and has she given you have her appointment. So whose appointments are you missing? Anyone's?
So I just need clarification from the vice mayor as far as his appointments for the ESAC, and I need his appointments for the youth advisory.
You have it for the mobility one?
I have
Okay.
the mobility
So,
one.
Correct.
Vice Mayor, is it that you don't want a second appointment?
That's not the issue. The issue is to move forward with the committees. We're prepared tonight to move forward.
We can
with the
still move
committees.
forward with the committees
Okay.
and make it 7 so that it's uniform. That's the question. If
If
nothing
it's a matter
stops
of
us.
making it uniform, then, and it doesn't delay the institution of the committees, then let's make it the 7th.
And you can choose an additional member
I
tonight?
can.
Okay.
Please, if you would, City Clerk, would you email me the lists of nominees, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
But are you prepared to
Yes.
provide a name tonight?
Absolutely.
But are we, okay, so, okay, I'm,
So we would be able to make our appointments, and then whatever changes we would make to the ordinance would take effect for the next cycle, whether that be in October or January, whatever it would be.
yeah, I
You don't
don't
want to
think you
make-
guys are gonna need my vote on this. I just wanna have the whole conversation at once, so I don't wanna piecemeal it. But you guys can, go ahead.
I agree with you, but I also agree with the vice mayor that I think we need to move ahead because delaying it it delays it another month. And I certainly wish that the Commissioner Stuyvesant was here to have the conversation, but we can't, we can't stop the business because someone is not
But then it
here.
also addresses the issue that we've had with the applicants who were told you can't or whatever, if there's other people who would, maybe can now be considered because if there's gonna be extra spots. But again, my picks are not impacted, but I don't like the piecemealing of it.
Okay.
Understood. I mean, yeah, we did have technical issues, so I don't know if we want to take that into consideration. I don't know, that's something to consider. Obviously, if we delay this, it'll be a delay of 1 month. I don't know how much
Right,
of a
and
difference
so-
that's
well,
going to make. I mean,
for-
we're already delayed 3 months, so
Or more.
1 more month. Maybe it's worth, just having that conversation, making it holistic, and then, yeah.
Okay, so you all want to defer it for a month?
I'm for deferring.
Vice Mayor?
I'm not for deferring.
Commissioner Lama?
I could defer. I mean, we did have technical issues. Maybe, we could discuss some
All right,
items here.
so if
Yeah.
whoever wants to defer, make a motion to defer then.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second, but it's going to be a tie, so it doesn't matter.
And therefore it fails. The
It
motion to
fails.
defer fails.
Okay, so then, all right, so then let's move forward.
With the appointments.
Do we have consensus that we're going to make it uniform in 7? Is there any opposition to making it 7, since we have the applicants?
Let's make them all 7, yeah. Lucky number.
I'm
Okay.
for 7.
All right.
Okay, so I'm just going to clarify the record really quickly. So if we may, Mayor, can we start with the appointments for, for the ESAC?
For the environment.
the
One second,
environment.
City Clerk, do you have a printout by any chance?
I don't have a printout.
Can you show,
Just to
Can we show-
forward it to me, or if I can see it.
just on the screen?
That's all I need.
Won't be able to, I can show them on the iPad.
Yes.
That's the mobility one, correct?
Yes.
So we'll do
go
the
one at a time.
environmental one first, and then...
Yes.
Okay, so for the Environmental Committee, we have Patricia Alvarez as the chair, Jeffrey Cunningham, Christina Miskis, Liran Shahar, Slava Yakushko, Jody Joseph, and Felix Kisner.
Congratulations.
I'm sorry?
So congratulations.
Congratulations. So 10N, which is the Mobility and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, we have Ashok Patel as the chair, Martin Teller as a member, Ken Percy, Mariana Talalevsky, and Pavel Stoyev. So that doesn't take into account, Mayor, the 2 additional appointments if we're making them
So
7
give the
committee
Vice Mayor
members.
an opportunity, and should we
Okay.
go to the youth?
So for the youth, We have Emmy Santana as the chair, Adriana Arango, Chloe Joseph, Louis Cannon, and Lara Salem.
So on the MAPSAC, who is it that has not been chosen yet?
The ones that were chosen, I'll tell you, I can read off the names.
Yes.
For the MAPSAC,
Go ahead.
Ashok Patel, Martin Teller, Ken Percy, Mariana Talalevsky,
It's not on here.
and Pavel Stoyev.
Oh, okay, Martin Keller, that's my pick anyway. So
you
Martin
have-
Keller is my pick.
Right, so you have Perez.
So I have another pick.
That looks like it.
These four?
Mhm.
Nikki Capra's in order.
Go ahead.
Here's the.
Pavel is already chosen?
Yes.
Okay. So.
Patel is also chosen?
Patel is
Yes,
chosen?
he's chosen, yes.
So Kenneth Percy is not chosen?
He's chosen as well.
He's chosen. Eric Luca is not chosen?
No, he's not.
Okay, I will pick Eric Luca.
Okay, and your second appointment, Mayor,
Is
would
Martin
be?
Keller.
Yes, I have yours.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
And my second appointment is Nikki Capra.
Okay, so we have that.
Okay.
Now, Vice Mayor, I just need your two appointments for the Youth Advisory.
Yes, Youth Advisory. Okay, I need to see the listing. Okay, so.
So for the record, Vice Mayor's selection is Gabriela Gershinen and Julian Salem.
Great. Do we have any public comment?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So we can vote on these, take a motion for all three at the same time? All
Yes,
right,
and
I'll
I would
take-
just, I apologize, Mayor, I would just ask that the motion be amended to amend the resolution for the Mobility Pedestrian Advisory Committee to increase it to 7.
Take a motion?
So moved.
Take a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Congratulations all. Thank you very much. It's very appreciated. And I guess the city clerk will be in touch
Yes.
with next steps.
Yes.
Yes.
We already voted on
Yes, we just voted.
No, I just wanted to make some comments on the selection. So obviously, everybody's qualified. Some people have, let's say, better background that's suited perhaps to that advisory committee. We take this very seriously. And something that I would like to mention is that.
Hold on 1 second, please. Vice Mayor, we have to have everything on the record, please.
Something that I would like to mention is that I know most of the people that applied, but when I'm selecting someone and something that, coming from a sales background, when somebody calls me and just asks, that makes a big difference to me because it shows that they're advocating for themselves. And this is a message, especially for the kids, to just ask. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be shy. You need to follow up, and you need to follow up some more. And that's something that I think is very important. So I'm not here to lecture. I'm just here just giving my humble opinion. So that is a big factor for me when I see somebody that, picks up the phone or sends an email or approaches me and is just asking and advocating for themselves. So that's all that I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And again, I encourage everyone who applied because it is hard to put yourself out there. So everyone that applied, please attend, and those that have reapplied, thank you for believing in these committees. Despite whatever this commission thinks, your efforts are appreciated. So the clerk will be in touch.
And
All
a big
right.
thank you for your efforts. Yeah, definitely.
And the residents will appreciate it. Thank you.
Next item.
Okay. Next item is 10Q, a resolution approving a parking license agreement between the City of Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, and J.P. Morgan Chase Bank for parking spaces along Atlantic Boulevard between 177th Drive and 175th Terrace.
Okay. City Manager?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the commission, this is for a parking agreement with Chase Bank for 10 non-exclusive parking spaces along Atlantic. The agreement has a termination for a convenience clause. It is 10 spaces at $250 each per month.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the commission? Any public comment?
No, ma'am.
I'll take a motion.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. All right. Now,
We're we're done with the official business of the city. Now we're at Citizens Forum.
Okay,
And we
so-
have the first speaker. We have two. Michael Litvinchuk.
Yes.
so anyone that wants to speak, this is your time to submit a public speaker's card. And I just want to remind you, you have 3 minutes, and please address all your comments to me directly. Michael, please step up. You've been very patient. It's appreciated.
I'm Michael. A lot of people know me. Everybody say, Michael from building 200. I live in this building 12 years. 9 years I did not have any problems. I'm sorry for my accent. All of a sudden, 3 years ago, the problems started. The problems was big problems. Under my apartment, water pump and 2 motors made crazy noise. I went to board directors, they saying, we don't have money. I called few times to police, they came, they made a report, I have the reports. All of a sudden, the policeman said, go to force informant and make complaint. I made a complaint to Helena Forbes. She sent a man, and next day I came to her and she's saying, yes, it's noisy, and we give them violation. All of a sudden, she said, come few days, give me a few days. I came after 2-3 days, she asked me, why you came? She called the police, And police came and told me, Michael, go. Cannot fight the police because police is always right. 3 days in ago, I went to 1, 2, 3 days, she called the police. 4 days, it was 4 days, came from policeman, high rank, I think. And he said, Michael, go home, I'm gonna send somebody, they're gonna check. And he sent Detective Morales. I don't know if she's working now, she's a detective. She said, she came and said, oh my God, you have big noise, how you sleeping? Jerry, you was my apartment, did you hear the
Please,
noise?
no, please address all your comments to me.
Huh? Tell, did
Yes.
you hear
No.
the noise?
Vice
Good,
Mayor.
good. It was Christopher, the previous manager, told me, don't go anymore to Mr. Parker gonna take care of this noise. And all of a sudden, 6, maybe 5 months ago, they put new motors and water pump.
Mikhail, please just, I'm giving you a few more seconds. Please finish up. Your time is up. Can you just finish up, please?
And still it's the same noise. Still it's the same noise when people start taking showers, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, it's big noise. You promise you're gonna send people, and I was staying until 10:30 and nobody came, right? Nobody came.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
I would just like to say that I've been to your apartment, and if I owned your apartment, I would want to jump off the roof.
Okay, Vice Mayor, you're not being recognized right now. Thank you, Michael. We can talk about, thank you. Your comments are on the record. Thank you.
I did not finish yet.
I understand, but your time is up, sir.
I can talk or not?
No.
Because I have another problem. I have to come for another meeting. Please, let me know.
We have somebody that's been waiting, that's been very patient. It's his turn to talk.
problem.
Sir, your time is up.
Okay, I'm not talking.
No. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Angel Venegas.
First, I'd like to apologize for before. I was called, so I
No,
came.
no need to apologize. Please, again, your name and address for the record. Thank you for being
My name is
patient.
Angel Venegas. I live at 301 174th Street. I looked at the agenda today, and I thought it was appropriate for me to say something because I made an observation, and I want to express my opinion on the ordinance and the pedestrian safety and all the committees on here. First, I noticed that, under Chapter 256, under vehicle traffic, there's an article number 5 restricting skateboards and all this thing. And basically, it says, no person shall use or operate a skateboard, rollerblades, and coaster scooters, gateways on Collins Avenue on either side, and everything. I don't see that being enforced. The other thing is that, like I said, you have an ordinance, and it's bad enough if you don't have a good ordinance, but you have the ability to amend it or repeal it. And I'm saying, if you're not going to enforce something, repeal it. I mean, that's the bottom line. The other thing is about, you have police officers as the enforcement agency, and I don't want a police officer enforcing this. I mean, there's people that give out traffic tickets and things, there's a better system. And I said, maybe there's an opportunity for the Pedestrian Safety Committee to look into this ordinance to see it better. Then I noticed and I go, wait, they neglected to see bicycles out of here. I go, I'm looking at this thing and then thinking, and so I looked into the ordinance, and under Article 5, there's a bicycle. And it was oddly enough that I found that bicycle and motor bicycles, okay, are permitted to be driven on the sidewalk. And I go, I need a sanity check. I have to come to you guys, and to you personally, and to this thing, and I go, how can this be? I mean, is something wrong with me reading these things, or, you know? And basically, that's my opinions. I mean, you can't change the world, and I know it's hard to control some of these things on it, but if you take the poles down that you say you have a thing on it, you're getting more sidewalk space. And you still have the scooters and everything going around there. Because when I first came to this 3 years ago, I was walking on Collins Avenue. I just had surgery on my shoulder. I had 3 torn ligaments. I had labrum, 2 screws put in. I'm in a cast, and I'm walking down on medication, and it still hurts. I wouldn't have, recovery is painful. And I get hit by someone on a scooter. I give out a yell. The kid looks at me like I done something wrong. He came from behind me. And I go, wow, these people are just going back and forth. Once again, opinion. I thank you for listening to me, and I hope somebody looks into this thing.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being right within time, and we can follow up with you after this meeting because this is something that we've discussed in the past. So thank you for being patient and bringing it up. Okay. Do we have anything else?
I would like to say something.
Yes, you are recognized now.
Thank you. I would just like to say to this gentleman that I do have an updated ordinance in review with our legal department, and hopefully you'll be happy with it. It mimics Denver, Colorado.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? I don't think we need a second to adjourn. We don't.
I'm sorry to
Good night,
for the
everyone.
coughing
Thank you.
tonight.
Thank you very much for attending.